Gossip Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. So with me today, I'm with Carol Ann Cooper and Shireen Lovegrove. How are you, ladies?
Oh, well,
Fine,
thank
thank
you.
you. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. So our topic today is love after conflict, how repair skills strengthen relationship. Conflict is an inevitable part of any relationship, whether it's a minor disagreement or a major argument. How couple handle conflict determines the strength and longevity of their bond. So, Carol Ann, you chose this topic. Would you like to share with our audience what was on your mind or what was the motivation behind it when you
It's
chose this?
another it's a follow on from where we were talking about underrated powers of relationships that help strengthen relationships, and this is one that came up, repair skills. So I thought, yeah, it's a good one to look into because or as you said, conflict is inevitable. So it's exploring, well, what is conflict? What makes it inevitable? How, what are the impact or the effects of actually if you attempt to avoid conflict, and is that the way to go? And, what are some repair skills that are useful and that, well, what are they actually? you know, and something else I thought about was, as I was looking through my notes, and that is, where does abuse fit into this? At what level or what stage is it a conflict, or what stage is it maybe something else? So yeah, that was what was there when I thought about it. So it's another superpower that's underrated, that we perhaps don't even know about and hadn't even heard of. Repair skills. So Shireen, how about you? What were you thinking? You're actually muted.
I'm thinking is my computer is making a hell of a noise, and I'm trying to organize that I come on Zoom on the other on my phone. So I'm going
Okay.
to be spending a little time, but I'll carry on, and then
Mm,
I'll swap them over. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because often we're kind of taught, and I think that's the key, when to give up and when not to give up, and so there's
mm,
something about the need for repair and the need to understand about how to repair well, right? How to understand. I suppose what I think about when I saw this topic today, Caroline, I really thought, when we have a wound, anyone who's trained in medicine, we know that you can't, if a wound is deep, we can't just sew up the edges.
mm,
What we've got to do is we've got to actually grab the muscle and stitch the muscle so that we can then bring things together. Because if we just sewed the edges, what would happen is that there'd be still the gaping hole that exists there. So
mm,
the same thing is in the sense of with a relationship, we can't patch up things.
mm,
We've got to look at what do we need to do the repair work, the actual structure of the repair, so that we can make sure that we bring a wound together in such a way that it heals. So that's what was really going on in my mind when I thought about this. And I think for me, that's a beautiful analogy about how any relationship should be. Am I trying to fix things on the top, or am I willing to do that other structural work that needs to be done? And
mm,
I absolutely believe that both, a relationship requires two people, or how many other people are in that relationship, but the two that have committed in a romantic relationship, then those two need to both do the structural work. It's not just about one doing the work and glossing over. It's really about, it does take two to tango.
mhm. Yeah.
And we need to tango well. And tangoing means we've got to move in alignment with each other, right?
Mhm,
So that's what was really coming on. So you've got the dance, you've got the metaphor of the wound healing. And I think that if you start to think like that and map it across, that would be a very useful thing. And it is a masterful skill to know how to suture, right? We've got to know
Yes.
how to get the layers, how to align these layers together. I mean, as an emergency nurse, that's what I used to do. I used to do a bit of suturing. And it really is useful in recognizing, oh, you've got to actually, this piece fits with this piece fits with this piece. It's like working on a jigsaw puzzle some of the time. So yeah, it's really interesting. And the same with relationships. You might only be able to do bit by bit by bit by bit. But they've got to come together, and they've got to be the right pieces that work together. Nonsense. How's that?
I love Carol Ann's topic these days. She's getting to become a superwoman with her topic to teach us the skills of the words that we ignore. Repair skills, conflict. Yeah, I agree with you. And thank you so much, Carol Ann, for this topic. It's really I think what Shireen had just said as well, that when you enter a when you are in a relationship, she mentioned the wounds. If the wound is deep, trying to fix things from the top, it doesn't work. You have to go through the roots so you can forgive and move on. So I think that is really, really important to actually, when it comes to conflict, to really understand how to deal. I think it's the skill, conflict, having this skill, what Carol and the topic has given us, is the skill that sustain a relationship. Because if you don't have the skills on how to deal with conflict, then the relationship cannot stand. Because even if you deal with it, and if you don't know how to forgive, and also Shireen, the wounds, like if the wounds are still wounded, left wounded, then the relationship will just be like, it will just like another somebody holding a grudge over and over and over. So yeah, thank you so much, Carol. And I hope by the end of this, okay, Shireen, you want to move forward?
No, I just realized it just said NOMSA on my phone. So I thought, oh, this is so much easier. I'm so proud of whatever happens these days. Anyway, I'm just going to rotate this now so that I can get it on the land. There we are. Wow, that's so excellent. Wow, these modern technology is just, I don't know. I'm ever so grateful we have it.
And it's the willingness to explore how it works and is what helps you to get there, rather than going, I can't do this, it's stuck, And I think this is where this topic comes in as well with relationships. Yes, you're going to have conflicts, and thinking that, perfect relationship never has a conflict is actually not going to help you at all, because if you do, then you're going to start making yourselves wrong.
Yeah.
And you're not going to actually explore, well, okay, this has happened. How can we deal with this? And as you say, go to the deeper causes to heal. And what are the skills that are there to help repair the relationship? And as Noms was saying, sustain it. It helped to sustain the relationship. It'll help strengthen it and sustain it. So it's certainly, being curious, being open to new ways of dealing with things, and the fact that there will be conflicts. And it's also understanding, well, what is a conflict? What do we mean by conflicts? And what it is it's disagreements. You have your own values, you have your own point of view. They don't necessarily are the same or in alignment. There will be times where you go, well, actually, no, I don't agree. So how do you deal with that? Do you get into an argument and it's like, I'm right, you're wrong? Or do you actually discuss it? And it's not about bringing someone over to your point of view. It's how do you deal with that conflict? And if it does fall into an argument, how do you then move forward from that? So that's where these repair skills come in. And, and different sources of conflict can be misunderstandings, maybe just a tone of voice, or even feeling unheard. Maybe there's spending habits. You've got different spending habits or different, thoughts about what saving and spending. What one partner might want to spend it all, and another one, well, no, I want to save it. How are you going to get it? That's a conflict. And even parenting styles. Sometimes there's conflicts there. So all it is it's a disagreement or a clash between partners' values, perspectives, or even expectations. Maybe they've got a certain expectation and it's just not happening. That's going to cause a conflict. And if it's not addressed, then this is where the wounds go deeper, and it can cause resentment. So those skills, I love that analogy. You have to go deeper. If there is resentment there, have you ignored something and you've had conflict and ignored it, but you haven't dealt with it? So certainly it's really important. Being open, being curious. Repair skills. Never heard that before. And it's okay to have a conflict. Ooh. Yeah.
Well, sometimes I think it's really good to clear the air, isn't there? And I think there's got to be something. I think one of the basic things, which while we're talking about conflict, is there needs to be rules of engagement for conflict, right? If you're going to have situations with your partner and you want to have a healthy relationship, one of the key things is to recognize there are things within an argument that you cannot say and do. There's certain things that there are agreements of how you can talk to someone, for example, how you would deal with a conflict. If you don't have those agreements, what will happen is that you'll both be in a really difficult situation and tend to really keep triggering each other. But if you have some set rules, and I think I certainly say to my partner, look, you can have as much of a conversation as you want. You can shout and scream, but the one thing you can't do is you can't point your finger and say, you, right? Yeah. That's the one thing I really don't like, because that's then in judgment, right? And instead of saying, when you do that, that helps me. When you do that, tells me that this is about a behavior and not about me. And we all learn this. We all learn that the moment someone says something, when our mom says, "Oh, you've done this and you've done this badly," or someone has accused you of something, they always go you, and that's a really bad trigger. So I think it's important to set some boundaries around that internal conflict and the internal repair, right? Mm-hmm. And there's also something about when we have repair, we need to give time. There's something about people, a lot of the things we don't think about is how much time do we need in order to deal with our feelings that we may have, and we need to be able to say, hey, time out. I'm going to go and do something right now because I'm really wound up. But I think what's more important is that you recognize that you want to keep the connection, that this relationship is worthwhile the repair. And I truly believe that there's nothing that's irreparable if there's still love. Absolutely. If there's still love, nothing is irreparable. Yeah. And so it may take a little while to get over the feelings that have caused the separation or the feeling of disconnect. But if there's truly love there, you'll get through it. And both of you have got to want that. Yeah, both of you have to love each other enough to be willing to even struggle through the repair, even if that's the way it needs to be. Yeah. And I think that then brings us into that other part of the conversation, which we'll maybe talk about a little bit later on, which is when a relationship is irreparable, right? How do we know that? How do we know when it's irreparable, and how do we know it's repairable, and what length of time do we need? So the time is such a big component in this whole story and this whole saga of things. So yeah, Namsa, how's that?
Uh,
Have you
Love
had a difficult one which has been irreparable ever?
uh, I like what you're saying, Shireen and Carol Ann. Carol Ann, you said a different source of conflicts could be spending time like a parenting lifestyle. I'm not really difficult when it comes to my children. I put boundaries there. I put normal boundaries. I don't have my children, they know their values and their father knows the children's skills. He knows his job is to teach the children to be better and help them with education and that. So which things that are simple that I shouldn't be spending time stressing with a man and doing all these things. So a father should know his responsibilities. If they don't know their responsibilities, you then as a woman, you have to help them in a way that you still dignify them. Because we tend to, when someone does not know something, we tend to actually undignify them and we make them think they're not good enough. But there are ways where you can help a father or a mother to actually help them with skills, because that's why it's called a mother and a father. It's called a spouse, a woman and a man. It means we help each other, each other. No one can know everything, but two people, they become superpower. Like they get the superpower skills. They can create the superpower skills, like Carol Ann said. And Shireen, you said they need to be rules of engagement and boundaries. I think boundaries are really, really, really important in a relationship. And a man and a woman, they need to know their boundaries and also engagement. And you spoke about have I ever been in a relationship where it is unrepaired? I think most of the relationship for me, I walked out or that ended where like I think we're both lazy, lacking skills. If you don't have skills in a relationship, you would think somebody else is the problem while you have to deal with your own issues. So for me, what I've learned is instead of blaming somebody else, I actually look at my own problems, which is Carol Ann. I used to talk to her lockdown a lot after the show. I think it's because we had nothing to do, just to work online. So just before we go online to work, I will be like talking to her. She'll be like, what is in you that is actually activating, that is actually any energy that is within you that is making this situation be the way it is? Is there anything that you can see, family or you or the partner will be like, I'm talking to her about the problem and she's telling me to look at myself. So she taught me to look at myself. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll pray and then in the prayer will be like, I come exactly as it is, as a problem, showing the problem, and she'll be like, what have you been saying to God? So I think it's really, really important to actually, I've learned to look after just to look at me in every situation, every problem that appear in my life. I look at myself, and if I see that it actually it's got nothing to do with me, I politely ask the other person that, like Kero Annie used to say, and then I would be like, don't you think that this thing is like we arguing, maybe there's something that you need to look at first? And that person will moan and moan and moan, and then they'll go back and say, oh, actually, oh yeah, I need to look at that. So I don't do, actually, for me, naturally, I don't do conflict. I am the person when she's in the wrong, put my hands up and I apologize if the apology is needed. And also, I've learned this the hard way, that life is so short that we actually little things, we take it to heart and we create conflict out of it. So if things don't need to be said, or some things, if I need to ignore them, I just appreciate that human being being part of me. I just gracefully, I don't take things to heart. I just, there's a scripture like in Matthew, when God was talking to the disciples, and the disciples will just, every little thing they will be shaking, and God will be like, you humans, have faith. So I use that attitude to say, I just need to trust the other person that they will do well, and how I show up, and this is how my energy is gonna guide them through their energy. Because if I show up aggressive, then or blame, I don't do that simply because of her. Carol Ann.
Yeah. And it's blaming others, right? It's not taking responsibility for your part in it.
Yeah.
But it actually perpetuates an argument and a conflict by blaming others. That doesn't help repair it. So, a key aspect of an effective repair skills is owning your part. And a sincere apology can be much more powerful than trying to prove who was right. So owning your part, just stopping, taking that breath for a moment and going, okay, what's actually going on here? And being able to own your part in it and speak that out. And again, we go back to our being able to speak out and communicate. But there's also active listening. So we spoke about reflective listening. There's active listening where you're attempting to understand your partner's feelings. Because if you're solely here with yourself in this conflict, and that you are so right, no, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, then you're not going to get anywhere. So another effective repair skill is actually listening and understanding. Well, where's your partner coming from? And making them feel heard. Because in helping them to feel heard, it's amazing how suddenly you feel heard. It shifts the whole dynamics. And again, you can, if you're not feeling heard, that's something else you can point out. Well, I'm not actually feeling heard because, and explain how it's coming over to you. It's not a case of, well, you're ignoring me, you're talking over me. It's just owning how it occurs to you, how it is impacting you, and maybe just saying, it's when you butt in. I'm not allowed to finish my what I'm saying. I feel unheard. I feel like you're not listening to me. And if I'm doing that to you, I apologize, because maybe sometimes what's happening to you, you are doing without yourself realizing. So wake up to what you're saying the other partner is doing that is making you feel unheard, not listened to, or upset in any way. And then go, okay, hold your hands up and have a conversation. And there you can have the dance that you were talking about, Shireen. It's that lovely dance in the conversation. And then the repair comes. But you have gone that bit deeper to owning what the emotions and how it's impacting you. What do you think, Shireen?
I agree with everything that you're saying there. Absolutely. I think, while you were talking about the act of listening and the importance of feeling heard, I think that is something that is so very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. And, what you said, which was really that we are the mirror of each other. We have these mirror neurons in our brain that when we are doing something or when we're in a relationship, generally what's happening to us is going to happen to the other person. They are, in essence, a mirror of us, right?
So what was really powerful is like if we really take on board that idea that, you know, whatever is going on, we are a mirror of it in some way, and take accountability for that. So accountability is not blame. It's about, let's have a look at what it is. And you talked about what can we be accountable in our part in the deal, right? The accountability is when we stop and we look and we go, hey, I'm a mirror. I'm a mirror for this that's going on. Therefore, there's something that I might be doing that's causing this reaction in this person, mostly unintentionally, right? Because we know that 75% or 80% of all communication is nonverbal. They are reading all these tiny micro signals, the way we look, the way we curl our lips, the way we move our head. All of these things are being clocked, noticed by another person automatically, and it's going straight into their system. So these are the things that they're mirroring automatically without even their awareness. So we have to step back and jump out of ourselves literally and have a look at ourselves in that dynamic. We call it a meta model or meta mirror. We step outside or the third position and we look at both sides. And then we can go, right. Now we've got the power to be the creator that we are. Now we've got the power to be able to say, right, I don't feel heard. Or I wonder, are you not feeling heard? We can ask the questions that we might need to say because we've now got extra information. By stepping outside and looking at the dynamic gives us the real sense of power, the real sense of control, and the real sense of being able to do the repair. Because it's only from there that we can see the repair. We can't, we've got to see the relationship outside it as we look in, right? That's where we see the repair, and we can create a plan for the repair.
Where the sutures need to go, so to speak.
Where the sutures need to go, but also it's a collaborative thing, isn't it? It's got to be collaborated. We can't just repair by ourselves. So we have to talk about it. But if we're not outside ourselves to look at the whole dynamic, and they're not, and we don't help them have a look at the problem from that perspective, you're going to be so full in feelings that you're not going to be able to use your brain enough to put the cognitive part in, which is really very important. So I think that's, you know, really looking at, you know, we are the mirror reflection. Whatever's going on, we're mirroring it in some way. So how do we step outside ourselves so that we can see what it is that we're reflecting? What is it that we're mirroring of someone else, or what are they mirroring in us? And then that's when we do that active listening, or the active reflective listening, because now we've got a desire, because is this worth pursuing? Is this worth being able to fix? Right. Okay, I can see this is fixable. Generally, most things are fixable very, very quickly. In actual fact, when we bring our authentic self to the table, when we bring our whole self and we say, hey, this is what I'm feeling in a kind way, not because of why I'm feeling because of you doing this. This is what I'm feeling. I'm not being heard. I feel we have to know what it is that we're feeling. If we don't have a name for it, if we can't give presence to what it is that we're feeling, we can't allow somebody else's mirror neurons to be empathic. So we want to trigger their empathy circuits, their higher order function circuits. By doing that, we have to give them information, and we have to also be able to make sense of what we're going through, right? So if we're in that part of the system, then that means that they've got a greater possibility or potentiality of being able to then come back and take their own personal accountability. So so that was what really was going on for me while I was thinking about what you were saying there, Caroline. And I think it can be so easy to, you know, a lot of the time we think we don't have time to do things, but actually this takes so little time once you've got the skill. And it is a skill that needs to be learnt if you haven't got it already. But it's infinitely doable because we've all got a sensory world that we can access and then utilize. And we've got these mirror neurons. So hey,
Yeah.
we're already 100% on the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it may take time in the beginning, but the more you do it and the more you build these skills and master them, the quicker you actually are able to repair and heal.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, ladies. And I think also the most important thing is to value life and value yourself and the other person. Because I think we do take life for granted. Imagine if you were to live every day like it is your last day, will there be any conflict?
Well, maybe there might be, but
Maybe
you might be willing to
will.
resolve it quicker.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit conflict and resolve it really, really quick. And most of the thing, what I've realized is, wow, since I've started cleansing myself and living in the present moment, I'm starting to appreciate more things more than I did before. Or sometimes I'll just argue for the sake of arguing. Before I had the skills of relationship skills, I would be like, okay, I'm not talking to you because you did this to me, so I am gonna do that. I'm not gonna until you apologize. You gotta apologize. I'll be holding that in my heart. I ain't talking to you. You did this. But now I don't have that kind of a mindset here. I just have that mindset that I'm not perfect. So I don't expect that the other person to be perfect. But what I don't when it comes to relationship is for me to be controlled by other people, because people are so manipulative when it comes to relationship. It's like, like a Shireen, you have your spouse, and then your spouse has his own family as well. So when they want to do something, they will manipulate you in a way that you don't do your stuff, you focus on people. So I don't do that because I was raised by my two fathers. My dad, my stepdad used to know that we used to do big get together at home, but sometimes I'll sit them down. I'll be like, okay, you want me to go and buy new clothes? Okay, I'll buy new clothes, new high heels. And then now you want me to go and hang out with everybody, everybody. And I'll be like, yeah, and these people will be looking at me, they'll be looking at what I'm wearing. It's not really, we're not having a conversation in family together and stuff. And I'll be like, okay, I can do that once a month or twice a month to go and do big family together because you're all buying clothes to go and show off with everybody else. So my stepdad knew that, okay, this one, we're going out, but this one is not coming with us. So he knew that he will not force me. He'll be like, okay, here's the money, go and do your thing. And my dad will be like, do your thing. So I'll go and do my thing. So it's just sitting there. I love family. I love everything, to socialize and everything, but some family together, they're not authentic. So I'll be like, if we're going to this kind of family together, it's not authentic. You guys are just going to show off things. I'm going off. So in the relationship, I do the same. I do my things and I do make other people happy as well at the same time. But don't try to control me to do your own thing. Family values. I'm very, very, very big with family values. My family, I love family, but there are things where sometimes I find myself when it comes to men, I'm having a conflict. Like I go to church, finish church at 1 p.m. If my family knows that, okay, Nomsa is going to church, so that will be okay if I finish my church, because my church finishes at 1 p.m. I've got loads of time from 2 p.m. till evening to spend time with them so they will understand. But sometimes I find myself, they'll be like, okay, we'll have a get together. It starts at 1. You have to be there. Can't you miss the church? I'm like, that's too much to ask. That's too much to ask. I like praying for my family because I do understand how God works. Before I had no idea, but now I don't like missing church for party. I don't like doing that. But I put my values in my family, things like that. I find having conflict with people not understanding that, okay, my family values and church thing is important to me. Like when my father-in-law was in hospital, it was me going to church. I did not want to miss any church because there were times where everyone said goodbye to him. And I said, God, it's not time to say goodbye. And I was like, kick the nurses out and everybody else, we're waking him up now. And God did that and listened to me. And I was like, so you do listen when someone loves you very much. So since that day, Carol Ann and Shireen, I don't play games with God. If I'm going to church, I just go to church. So I think that's where values comes in, where people can have a conflict. There are so many people that have all these conflict when it comes to, or maybe sometimes if children is get together or children, they have party, or what kind of parties. Me, I step back. I ask the kids, tell me what kind of party you need to have, and I will deliver. I don't get involved. I don't go to daddy. Even their dad knows. The children choose. If it's an expensive party, I negotiate. Okay, it has to be a normal as well, because there's some children who are spoiled. So I don't want to go spoil my children. They need to work for it. If they want to have that extravagant party that does not make sense, they need to work for it. But normal party, I'm like, tell me what you want to have, then I'll deliver. If daddy agrees, go to daddy. But normally, dad knows if they come to him first, it's something that I'm going to say no to. Because children can play, it can cause conflict as well. Honestly,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they can cause big conflict. So he knows if they start with him, they know that is a no from me. So he's like, where did you start this conversation? Is it with mommy? And they're like, no. And he's like, go to mommy, and then I'll see what she says. I'll do what she says. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. And it's being able to hold those boundaries, and you know, you've got that understanding. Because yes, children will. They know how to get their way, or attempt to. But as you're saying, it's being authentic and being able to say what's so for you, and being able to explain what your values are and what is important. And I remember many years ago with my ex-husband, it was quite sort of early on in our marriage, but I'd managed to get day release with the company that I'd got a job with to get my degree in maths. So, you know, I mean, that was a great opportunity. And he didn't like it at all, because he was saying, oh, no, we're stuck here. We've got to be here. Because he traveled around a lot. He changed jobs a lot before I met him. And he'd actually got a job in the police force, but again, there was still sort of ups and downs and that. But I said to him, I said, well, I'm doing my degree. It's something I want to do. I can do this here now. The company are paying for it. But if you need to move, we need to go somewhere else, then I can do it somewhere else. I am doing my degree because it was something I hadn't thought of doing, but the opportunity came up, and it was in my subject. It was in maths, you know, and I thought I really enjoyed it. Oh, yeah, you know. So it seemed to it dissipated the conflict, and as it turned out, we didn't move. He got moved with his job within the county, but we never ended up having to move from where we were in our house. And so, as I say, actually making a stand for what is important for you, but also acknowledging what is so for the other person, recognizing where they're coming from. And so his sort of chopping and changing got satisfied because he was in different departments or different aspects of the police force, you know, and which helped. And he did get moved from few different places as well that were within traveling distance. Something here. Things getting stuck. But his need for change got satisfied in that respect. But having discussed it actually, as I say, dissipated the conflict.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did get it. Even though I managed to do it in 3 years rather than do it in the 4 years, because my teaching certificate allowed me the first year off. So I went straight into the second year. And through all that sort of conflict that we'd had about it and hard work, and towards the end of that first year, well, at the end of it, we had an internal exam. No, it wasn't internal, it was an external to say whether we could go on to the next 2 years. And I was struggling with it. And I passed it, and I think because I was struggling because I was starting to not put much effort in because of what was going on. And when the head of department called me in and said, well, you've passed, you know, so yes, you can go on, but, you know, you only passed by 1 mark. So I would really consider whether you want to go on. And I shared with him, well, it was difficult and I wasn't able to put in the amount of effort that I could. He went, well, okay, you know, you can carry on. And that actually made me sit up and go, right, I want this and I'm going to get it. So I did put the effort in and was able to complete the next 2 years on it. But it is having that conversation and knowing what's important for you, but also what is important for the other person, and being able to come to a point of where this agreement or the conflict itself just dissipates. It is no longer a conflict, and there is sort of peace about it. So, because actually, if you don't address the conflict, if you avoid it, this is where resentment builds up, and those emotions, you hold on to it. Emotions don't disappear, they just fester, and it can then create even more conflict and even hard, you know, more violent, perhaps arguments can come out, and then it can get tipped over into something much more strong. So don't allow them to fester, because say the emotions won't go away. Address it, have the conversation. And I think it was you, Nomsa, mentioned it is about being authentic. I think even you, Shireen, mentioned authenticity. It's recognizing what's there for you and then being able to express it without blame, so that you can actually build a stronger relationship. And so like with having to give attention to doing my degree, it was making sure that attention was given. There was time for us as a couple, you know, which was difficult with his shift work anyway. You know, but yeah, you have to make that. That'll have that awareness and make that time. You know, it's making the relationship important. Going back to, I think what you were saying, Shireen, is that love there? And if that love is there, that will overcome anything, you know. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think what you were saying there was so valuable. Both you and Nomsa were really talking about things like, Nomsa, I loved that you said, you gave this first part of example with God and talking about, I decided I'm going to church I'm going to do that at 1 o'clock. Everybody knows about that on a Sunday. That's where I go. And there's, unless something other than a party comes up that's important for the family, really important, you're not going to break that engagement that you already have with God. And I think that that's kind of really moving into something which you were kind of really attesting to, Caroline, which is really about knowing what it is that you're standing for, knowing, that if I want something, I need to stand in that wanting. And also at the same time recognizing that other people, we had the contract, right? The contract that we formed to start. And that means we've got to negotiate the contract. And what really came up for me when you were talking about that, it was the idea that, you said to your husband at the time, you said, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I also recognize that you want all of these things. So if we need to go somewhere else, we can do that because I'm still going to do this, right? I think that was the powerful part. It didn't matter where I'm going to be. This is a non-negotiable. I am going to do it. It's in a way location independent, but it seems silly to go all over the show when I'm being paid right now, and that's going to give us more money, right? So I suppose what I heard then at that point was the idea was you started to be solution focused. I want this. This is non-negotiable. So here, let's find a solution. So that was what I heard in the background of what you were talking about for me. And I think that is what's very, very useful when we're in conflict, is we need to have or be thinking about a solution about how we want to operate within that dynamic. So, you're having a thing, then you need to be able to step back and go, okay, well, I can do this. I can do that. Have some boundaries around what it is that you can do, but at the same time, be solution focused, be thinking forward ahead. What is it that you're going to do for that future that you're going to work towards? That's where the repair is sitting, right?
Yeah.
We can only repair if we're on solid ground. We can't repair when it's shaky. So you need, and when we've got a kind of a plan that's there, and we've got our solidity in ourselves. Talking about it as coherence. When we're coherent, people hear what we're going to say, right? They recognize that this is the truth and we're not going to budge. It's not about being stubborn. It's about this is truth for me. And so when we do that, then I think that, and we have a solution, and we recognize that we are the solid ground. We are the solid ground. So whatever we're going to do, we're taking our solid ground with us. And I think that's where we talk about, which voice said, you've got to talk about yourself first. You've got to deal with yourself first. That's how you get the solid ground first. So that when you're in a conflict, when you're in anything, you're very solid. You're more likely to step outside. You feel, oh, I'm here, I'm grounded. I can step out. I can have these multiple perspectives. I can find a solution. You're coming from that real mindset of positivity, a growth mindset of really being solution focused, being able to see the wood from the trees, all of the things, and the flexibility to adapt, which is really important. And I think other people love it when you can give them little lights, the way they head, and it helps them feel not so frightened or scared or concerned or that their world is going to end.
Yeah.
Because that's the key. When you want to repair, repair can only happen in a field of safety. It can't happen outside safety. So how do you create? You've got to be that rock, that earth, that solidity when you're bringing in the solution.
Yeah, I love that, Sharina, when you say be the solution focus when it comes to repair the relationship. And also, Sharina, I like the story with your husband as well, because what people don't know is sometimes you have to stand your ground. Like you finish your degree and your husband would have that thing where him having disagreement, conflict, a little bit of conflict. If you had gave in, you would have even given up studying your degree and put your marriage. And I'm glad that you actually just went for it and you finish it. And not many people do that. I think I did put a post before where there's no vision, husband or wife becomes the vision, start annoying each other. So it's really, really important. I think how you show up to relate to a relationship is really, really important. It's like for me, with the kids and the whole thing, I always like wherever I show up with my children, like relationship wise, if you are in a relationship with me, I show you who I am. It's then up to you whether you want to embrace it or you just want to blame Nomsa with things. I show up as someone who is not perfect with my imperfection. So then it's then up to you to embrace that and help me to find my strength. Where I have weaknesses, or maybe to blame me or to belittle me, is up to you. When it comes to the kids, when I show up wherever they go, it's like my children in school. If their father makes a decision, if I'm not there, they can tell that mom is not involved. And they'll call me. Yeah. Where there is a decision where I'm not involved in, mostly it's a decision to drop out of something.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it costs money, because the children can be very costly. Where it costs money, if they go to their dad and say, Daddy, can I stop doing this? Because Daddy thinks about money. Or if you drop this, I'll be able to save money. So mommy thinks about the future. If you do things for a year in my household, you don't get to get out of it. So the school, they know that. So if they want to drop out, then it means dad is involved, mom is not. So the school will then make a phone call and say, by the way, your daughter is trying to drop this out, but we figure out that you don't know anything about it. I'll be like, yeah, that's true. Tell her she's not dropping it out. So yeah, because they think about the opt-out. So that's when the conflict comes. But when the conflict comes, for me, I always say, I know it looks so expensive now, but it's a good investment. I don't blame or anything or say I'm gonna pay for it. No, I just say it's a good investment. It will be worth it by the end of the day. But even myself, I know it's expensive, but there's nothing when it comes to all these things. And I'm glad that, Carol Ann, you finish your degree. And that's what I do as well. I compromise where I have to compromise, but where is my future, I have to be a good example for my children. So I've got to stick to things. I've got to do things. I've got to be there for family. Family are sick. God, you understand. I don't go to church. I go pray for them. I go hang out. Yeah, if they're sick, I go hang out. But if they're healthy, if they don't have food, they call me and say, you want food? They want food. I don't go to church. I go and give them food because I know they need dinner, they need lunch. So to me, I'm good to do that. But if you are well, and you are alive and well, you can wait until I go to church and then I come back and give you loads of hugs and things like that. So yeah, but I think these skills are really important. Thank you, Carol Ann. I'm wondering
I
what
think
will
there's
be
one
next week.
point. We'll see. We'll see. But I think there's something important to bring up at the moment today is where, what conflict, if conflict and there's an argument and it steps over into there's physical abuse starts stepping in, then the conflict resolution doesn't work in that case because that's an abuse situation. That's a safety situation. And so that needs to be looked at in a completely different way. So if it does sort of turn into abusive, because that's about control, that means there's not the willingness to work together. There's control and it's safety. So that needs to be looked at in a completely different way. This repair skills are when there's conflict and there's still a want. There's safety there. It's just argument. You're talking and you're not agreeing. Then how can you bring a resolution to that and repair the relationship? So, because when I was going through sort of making my notes in the back, it's like, well, okay, owning your part. If somebody start being abusive to you physically, how does that work? And then I started looking into that and realized, no, it's a completely different situation. So that's where you draw the line, repair. It's not better repairing that sort of situation.
And then it's about there's no love for yourself when you're in that situation, right?
Yeah.
So when we talked about if there's love enough, that's fine. But you've got to recognize that if you don't have a love for yourself and your safety and your well-being, then you need to move away from that for now.
Yeah.
And work out how you can not go back to that relationship or make sure that they're out of the scene for a while. It's really important. So when we're talking about love, we're really also talking about the love for yourself.
Yeah.
So make sure that that's clear, absolutely clear. How am I being loving? If someone hits me, hey, if I accept this, I'm not being loved, right? I'm not loving myself. I'm not protecting myself.
Yeah, that would be abuse and crossing the line.
Yeah.
So people need to be aware, different between conflict and abuse.
Yeah.
And
repairing is also if you've been deeply hurt as well. Yeah. So it's about recognizing that repair is about repairing of things which we've established is repairable. So that's the key. We've got to decide, is this repairable or is this not? If someone is abusive, that's not really repairable easily, right? There's going to be a lot more structural work that needs to be done, perhaps even separately, if at all.
Yeah. So, my last sort of words I'd like to leave our listeners with is a quote. It's a strong relationship requires choosing to love each other, even in moments when you struggle to like each other. And another one by John Gottman. The success of a relationship is not measured by the absence of conflict, but by how well it is repaired. I'll just leave you with that. Shireen, have you got some last words for him?
Yeah, I mean that I love John Gottman. I really do find that he's such a powerful communicator when he talks about things, and certainly with couples. But one of the things I think is really about recognizing, for me, is really about paying attention to yourself and recognizing for yourself, where am I standing in myself? Where am I in my own safety borders? Am I creating safety for myself so that I'm safe enough to be able to repair what I need to repair, if I need to do that? And I think that's really the key. Be sure that you are authentic and true to yourself, and then give a solution.
I like
what
that.
about you?
I like that what you both said as well, but for me as well is having to look at myself and really think about the respond. How do I respond in this situation so that in a way that I don't hurt the other person? Because we can easily hurt somebody by getting angry or saying things that we don't mean to say, or sometimes if we have things that we've not spoken, or the conflict, that unfinished business in our heart. And then when conflict arises, and then we respond in a hurtful way. So I do the same what Shireen said, making sure that in my heart I don't have any anger that is left, or if somebody says something, or if there's something that I don't understand, I step back, evaluate myself, and how do I respond in this situation? Respond with love. Even if I'm hurting, I got to still love. because you love, this thing is always comes back to me. You love when you are hurting, when you are in pain. You got to keep working towards your goals. Even life does not make sense. My children always bring it back to, honestly. Yeah, that's what I live with, you guys. And like Carol Ann said, guys, conflict and abuse, they're two different things. And also get in touch with Nkosi Talk Shows if you are in a relationship where you don't understand or you need some coaching. We're always available for you guys. And join our groups as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and the website as well, www.coach. Sign up for love, and if you want, looking for love, sign up. If you're looking to find your own voice, there's a different page where you can sign up. Live with grace, everyone.